Welcome to Front Office Pros. Today, we're going to be talking about some must-add players for Week 2 of the NFL season. The NFL is back in action. Week 1 is close to being in the books. It's been an exciting Week 1. Both Joe and I's teams got some wins. One a little more sloppy. One, I guess, also sloppy, but maybe a little bit more exciting. Nevertheless, we'll take the wins. But we're going to be talking about waiver wire pickups. See, I'm so excited. I'm slurring my words here. So, Joe, let's start off with the first guy. These are our top 5 players. No in particular order, just 5 guys that we've got our eyes on. Who's the first player we're going to be talking about here?
Yeah, first player we're going to go with is quarterback Daniel Jones with the Indianapolis Colts, who absolutely put on a show, just shellacking the Miami Dolphins here. He had 272 yards, a touchdown, also added 7 carries for 26 yards and 2 touchdowns. Honestly, was 22 of 29 at a 75.9 passing percentage in the game as well. Just what a great performance and way to kick off the season for his new team.
Yeah, big question mark for him is this just the Miami Dolphins defense or is it legit? I mean,
Right.
The Colts have a good supporting cast around him, right? With Michael Pittman. I mean, I was surprised that Michael Pittman did as well as he did, to be honest with you. I've always been down on him. I know you like him a little better than I do.
Yeah.
But you got Pittman, you got Josh Downs, you got Adonai Mitchell, Tyler Warren, was very reliable as that safety valve for that offense. You got Jonathan Taylor. So there are a lot of options for the offense. So I think with that running upside that Daniel Jones provides, I think he could be a stable guy. I think he could bring a lot of value. Definitely a guy to have on your bench. I'm not sure if you play him week in, week out. Now they play your Broncos next week. So I wouldn't necessarily say that if you got him to go ahead and start him. That would be quite bold in my opinion. But, look, I mean, depending on your quarterback situation, Joe, I mean, say 5% of your FAAB budget that they had Daniel Jones on your roster just in case? What do we think?
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. I mean, it really seems like, he enjoyed this Shane Steichen system. And, this is really the best opportunity that he's had in his career yet. I mean, probably the best offensive line, and he's played behind really solid weapons as well that you highlighted there. And honestly, I was really surprised they didn't, utilize the run game and Jonathan Taylor as much as I thought. They really, even though despite dominating the game, in a traditional 6-point for a touchdown passing scoring league, Daniel Jones put up 31.5 points this week.
Yeah, I mean, QB1 this week and the 2 rushing touchdowns. Interesting to see how that may affect Jonathan Taylor going forward. By the way, this is a weird comment, and then we'll move on. Did you realize that Daniel Jones was 6'5"? That seems like freakishly high. I didn't think he was that tall. Did you?
I don't know if I realized he was 6'5". I mean, obviously I knew he was a tall guy and athletic, but yeah, I don't know if I necessarily paid attention to his height before.
Yeah, it seems crazy to me. I'm looking, I'm like, is that even right? Like, I'm almost wondering if this looks wrong. But anyways. All right, so next player we're going to be talking about here is wide receiver Hollywood Brown, some call him Marquise Brown, of the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, this game has happened a few days ago, so you may have forgotten. So let's bring it back up to speed here. He had a whopping 16 targets, played 93% of the snaps for the Chiefs, 10 catches for 99 yards. So when Xavier Worthy got out of the game, he then stepped in and was a huge target hog. Question will be, when will Xavier Worthy come back? He had that shoulder injury. It's too early to tell yet what the Chiefs are going to do. There's even speculation that he may go on the injured reserve. So I think, I don't know how long Hollywood Brown will stay relevant for, but at least for the next, I'd say 2 or 3 weeks, I think he's pretty interesting. So question is, if you do add him, would you start him then? I don't know. It depends, I guess, on how deep your roster is. If it's not very deep at all, maybe you do play him in the flex. I'm thinking a 5% FAAB budget. I don't know. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, 5% is probably fair, just given that this, is probably more short term. I mean, obviously, Rice is suspended for 5 more games, but as long as Xavier Worthy's out, I do think he's interesting. And he really was kind of the target guy for Patrick Mahomes after. I mean, he had 16 targets in the game overall. I mean, he was really, really looking to him. So, I mean, I'd be comfortable if Xavier Worthy's out. I'd probably be comfortable starting him.
Interesting thing was, if I remember, and I don't know, I can't see the stat on the top of my head, but they weren't using him as a deep threat. they almost were using him more so as like a dink and dunk type of guy, which usually Marquise Hollywood Brown's been known for the deep ball. It'd be interesting to see if
Yeah.
they decide to stretch him downfield or not.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I feel like that's just maybe not exactly their part of their offense. I mean, even Rasheed Rice isn't the deep down the field threat guy. Worthy was, becoming kind of maybe that deep threat, but then at the same time, he's also kind of just doing those shorter, shallow routes and really just they rely on the yards after catch in that offense. Next guy we're going to talk about may come to a surprise here, but we're going to go with tight end Harold Fannin of the Cleveland Browns, rookie tight end who honestly – I have him in Dynasty League, but I wasn't sure what value he's going to provide for the redraft leagues here. But Joe Flacco in the first game against the Cincinnati Bengals, 9 targets, 7 catches, 63 yards. Also had a carry for 13.6 points in a PPR league. Solid opening week 1 game for him. And it's definitely, that you heard the rumors that they were going to possibly line him up in the slot and utilize him. And it's clear that the Browns drafted this guy with a plan.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. You could tell that they draft him with a purpose. They really decided to use him all over the field. You and I both were not concerned by what happened in the combine with that slow combine number. I thought it was going to be a similar story to like Isaiah Likely, who also didn't do that well, but obviously he's been able to perform well at Baltimore. I was surprised how much he was utilized, but yeah. I don't think this is just a one-off. I actually think that Harold Fannin Jr. could be heavily involved in the game plan going forward. I mean, the Browns don't have a lot of receiving options to begin with. I am slightly concerned for Njoku a little bit because we saw how much Joe Flacco loved to target him, and just because of Harold Fannin being there, it took away from some of those targets. But tight end's a very interesting position. It always seems to be. But at the time of this recording, we don't know about Brock Bowers. It's a possibility that he injured his knee. Some are speculating a meniscus, MCL at worst, ACL type of situation. So if that happens, you had Brock Bowers, then what do? We also know that George Kittle strained his hamstring. So at the tight end position, you may be looking for options. I think Fannin's probably my number one option. I know we're going to be talking about another one here. There's some other ones out there that people might be interested as well. But I don't know. I think Fannin, I think he's going to be involved pretty heavily in the game plan going forward.
Yeah, he could. That's where it's feel like it could be a little bit riskier compared to another guy we're going to be talking about, just how stable he will be in the offense. Is this more so maybe another Isaiah Likely situation from last year where week 1 he had a great game for the Ravens against the Chiefs, and then people were spending up big and FAAB money and then were disappointed. But I think probably if you need the tight end, maybe 5 to 8% would probably make sense for Fannin.
Yeah, I was going to say too about that amount as well. I wouldn't want to unload. I think I want to be a little cautious. I don't think even the guys we're going to be talking about, I don't think there's any players that I'm like, you got to just unload half of your FAAB budget. I think that'd be a mistake.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting week 1. Like, it wasn't the best for some of the fantasy options out there. I mean, obviously, if you had somebody in the Sunday night game, you're very happy with them. But the other games, weird week 1. The studs didn't typically play like the studs, and some weird performances.
All right, next guy we're going to be talking about here is a guy who Joe's a little more enthusiastic about than I am, but we got to include him, and that's wide receiver Quentin Johnston of the LA Chargers. Looking at sleeper here, he's only 9% rostered, but he had a great game on his first game against the Chiefs. He had 7 targets for 5 catches, 79 yards, and 2 touchdowns. One of those things where it's like, we did see some of that last year. A lot of people decided to go and get him, and then they were disappointed. It was like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. He'd have really good games, and then he would all of a sudden give you a donut. So how reliable is he in deeper leagues? Maybe you would consider putting him in the flex. But to me, he's more so just a bench guy in the event that maybe Ladd McConkey or Keenan Allen goes down. So that's, to me, the part that's concerning. But the big knock on him is that he can't catch, but it looked like he could catch against the Chiefs, Joe. So You tell the people what you think about Quentin Johnston, because I'm not as bullish on this guy. He would not be a guy I'd be picking up. But sometimes, I'm snoozing at the wheel, and then these guys get picked up, and I'm like, oh, now great, Quentin Johnston's doing fantastic. I could have picked him up.
Yeah, I just feel like he's worth an ad. I mean, the Chargers offense really surprised me with how much they passed. I mean, traditionally you think Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh run first, they're gonna pound the couple of backs that they have, not in Najee and Omarion Hampton. But it just wasn't the case. I mean, they were really letting Justin Herbert throw it. And if they're gonna kind of be more of a pass first team, kind of similar to how we saw last year finish out, I think Quentin Johnston's interesting now. I mean, he's not going to get 2 touchdowns every week, but we did see games like this before. And I think he's just worth having on your bench. And maybe given the right matchup, you decide to throw him in your flex. All right. So our last player, we've alluded to him. It's another tight end. We're going to go with tight end Hunter Henry of the New England Patriots. Currently rostered in 43.5% of ESPN leagues. 8 targets in this game, 4 receptions, 66 yards. And honestly, next week, he's a guy that I think is interesting. He got Miami Dolphins. You saw what Daniel Jones and the Colts are able to do. Saw the game that even Tyler Warren had in that as well. So just given the utilization, and it really just seemed like Drake May was comfortable using guys that he had developed a rapport with last year. Hunter Henry being one of those guys. Seemed to look to him when he was in trouble. Created a couple of big plays, and obviously Booty was another guy that he was looking to as well.
I think everyone's going to gravitate towards Boutte. I actually think Henry's the guy you want. We watched that game, and one of the games that we had on that we were watching, and for me, you saw the involvement that they had with Henry in the game, having those 8 targets. I think that that's going to continue. A young quarterback's best friend is a tight end, and it's not like the Patriots have all that reliable options on the outside. So, like you said, 8 targets, 4 catches, 66 yards against the Dolphins. I think it's going to be a great option. I would say probably 5% FAAB. Again, none of these guys I've spent a lot of money for. But again, with the tight end situation, the tight ends may be a little bit more interesting. You may want to go grab one of these guys.
Yeah, I'd say if you've got Kittle or a Bowers and you're concerned, maybe you do spend more. But if you're just the guy looking to, add a guy to, the bench and maybe possibly flex consideration, I think 5% is fine. But, if you wanted to go upwards of, 8%, if you're desperate, I think that'd be fine too.
So that does it for this episode. We went through our must-add players after week 1, heading into week 2. If you haven't done so already, check out our most recent episode. We talked about what it's like to be in a real contract salary cap dynasty fantasy football league. If you haven't been in one before, we went through our league and gave you a power rankings of the top 16 teams. You're not going to want to miss that. Thank you so much for tuning in, and